The good news is we have fights this weekend. The bad news is we are back at the Apex, the quiet, small cage, no crowd Apex. But luckily, this feels like a very easy betting card. I already have 3 units on the board. So I'm looking forward to breaking this card down. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks. And I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 94 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. But just a heads up. This is me. This is live footage. This is surveillance footage of me right now. I'm at the water park with the family. We went to the Gaylord in Dallas. We're swimming. I'm having some Miami Vices by the pool, and I'm just living my best life. The reason I'm telling you this is I don't have the luxury of hindsight. I don't know what happened at UFC Denver. I am filming this Saturday morning before UFC Denver happened. So let's hope that it was a successful night. Let's hope you did well. And let's hope we can parlay that success into UFC Vegas 94. But just because I'm soaking up the rays and enjoying the water doesn't mean I'm not going to plug premium. If you don't know, we have a premium offering. Just go to WeWantPicks.com, click become a member at the top. It's freaking $10 for an entire month. It is the greatest value in this space. There's nothing remotely close. Nothing remotely close. If you just want to get some bets, copy, paste, have a good night and see what happens, we have that for you. If you want to come in here, do your due diligence, use the tools, the data, the insight, do your own research, and then make your own bets, we have that as well. The latest tool, the latest addition to premium membership is the Prop Hunter. This is a curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. More and more sportsbooks are offering prop bets around significant strikes, takedowns, and every single sportsbook already offered the round line leans. This is data that will help you do that. You can fully interact with it. You can sort it. You can work your way across, see how many strikes are landed in a decision for one fighter versus how many are absorbed by the other. Take that data, look at the sportsbook, and find your slots. You can unlock this right now. No additional charge. Just more and more features added to your existing premium membership. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Another tool you're instantly going to unlock is the Line Movement Tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You're also going to get the detailed data, metrics, and analytics. This is the broader set of data. This is a different data set. And this is going to give you everything you need to hone in, to find your spots, to avoid spots as well. You're also going to get the DraftKings Optimizer. If you play DraftKings Fantasy, you know how wildly important it is to have a great lineup. You know how important it can be to have the correct ownership projections while building lineups to chase those giant paydays. This optimizer will be preloaded with the best ownership projections in the game each and every week. You're also going to get more than just this handsome fellow. You're going to get Artem giving you his picks and his bets for far more than just UFC. He's breaking down PFL, LFA, Contender Series in a few weeks when that spins back up. And we do have an artificial intelligence. We literally have a nuclear physicist that reached out and said, I love what you guys are doing. I built an artificial intelligence. Let's work together. And we have had this for about a year, and it is picking fights at a remarkable accuracy. We then take those artificial intelligence picks and we designed betting systems around them. Depending on how the fights are laid out, depending on what the AI thinks and how it thinks it, we have a whole betting system. If you go to the website, you go to the Pick GPT, which is the name of the artificial intelligence, you can read up on the systems and then see the betting system picks. And finally, again, I'm in the pool. I've probably peed a few times, but they don't know. Nobody knows. I also don't know what happened at UFC Denver, so I don't know if the safety parlay hits at UFC Denver. The good news is, if it does hit, that's astonishing, and we are in a 6-event win streak. If it does not hit, that means we're 5-1 in the last 6, which is still absolutely amazing in the most volatile sport to bet on. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 an entire month. You're going to get UFC Vegas 94. You're going to get UFC 304, and you're going to get the 2 events after that. That's $2.50 an event. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Let's go ahead and dive in. I opened this by saying this is an easy card to bet on. And obviously, who the hell knows? These are fist fights. The good news is we don't have any weird outside factors like altitude. As of right now, we don't have a bunch of short notice matchups and sloppy fights that were just slapped together at the last second. What we do have is a bunch of straightforward fights and a lot of spots that I think are going to work out. This isn't one of them. Mohammed Usman taking on Thomas Petersen in the UFC opener is not one of them. I'm not betting on this fight. I will tell you right now, there's actually some decent value here, but this is a sloppy heavyweight fight. We got Mohammed Usman. He is a high-level athlete. You watch him in the cage, he doesn't look like one, but he is a high-level athlete. He has college football experience. Style-wise, inside of a fist fight, he's not great at any one particularly thing, but he is composed. He will sit behind a jab. He will methodically work his way forward. He does have some very real power. He can stay tough on the other end as well, meaning he can take a beating. And while he is evolving, he still hasn't managed to put everything together in a fight, meaning we've seen fights where he's all in on the wrestling. We've seen fights where he's all in on the striking. What we haven't seen is him smoothly flow between the two. We haven't seen him set up a takedown with some really nice strikes. We've seen him do one or the other. He's taking on Thomas Petersen. Thomas Petersen's a solid wrestler in his own right. He'll work from everything from bear hugs to just straight up double leg takedowns. His striking is not great, but he will close the gap. He'll keep straight punches out there. He'll march forward, and then when he gets you against the cage, he'll stay busy in the clinch and look to drag you to the ground. If Petersen cannot take you down, he is going to be in trouble because his striking kind of sucks. But if he can take you down, he's got good control, solid ground and pound. He is coming off that decision loss to Jamal Pogues, where he was sloppy as hell. He did get very tired, but he just continued to move forward. He didn't quit on himself. This is a low-level heavyweight fight. Neither guy is very good. Neither guy is very entertaining. The last knockout between the two of them was Mohammed Usman years ago when he knocked out a middleweight, basically. That was the last time we saw any real power from either one of these guys. The pick is going to be Usman, though. He is physically imposing. He's the much larger human being here. He should be able to defend some of those takedowns. Neither one is a very good striker, so I'll go with the guy that's got a little bit more power. The guy that'll just continue to move forward and throw some stuff. So I am going to go Mohammed Usman. He's got a brick for a head. He hits pretty hard, at least in that one fight. He's got good offensive takedowns. He's the bigger, more physically imposing guy. I think Mohammed Usman wins here. Minus 140. Honestly, there might be some okay value in that. But you can't bet on low-level heavyweight fights. You just can't do it. Then we have Luana Carolina taking on Lucie Pudilova. This is one of the strangest betting lines on this card, and I'll tell you why in a minute. First, let's talk about the fighters. We got Luana Carolina. She is a striker. She's got solid takedown defense. She's not the most technical woman in the division, but she is fantastic in the clinch. She's got great knees and elbows. She has an awkward striking style that can be really hard for a lot of people to read, and then she pairs that with that 76% takedown defense. She's coming off the TKO win over Julia Stolarienko, where even though things went her way, she won that fight. She was an underdog in that fight. She wasn't supposed to win, right? Julia was coming off a phenomenal win. Everybody thought she was going to steamroll Luana, but Luana won. That's all great news. But she was doing some weird shit. She was winning the striking exchanges and then shooting takedowns. She was getting the fight to the ground against somebody that has wild submissions. None of that made any sense, but she did win that fight, and she won by finish. She's taking on Lucie Pudilova. She's a powerful striker who likes to circle while throwing big, heavy 1-2s. She does not have incredible volume, but she does stay busy enough, and she throws with intent. Recently, she has started to work in some takedowns into that arsenal of hers. She has 4 takedowns in her last 3 fights. She is 3-7 in the UFC, though, and she's coming off the loss to Aylin Perez, where she had no answer for the wrestling. I always mention that when I do my picks, when I do my breakdown, I don't know if you can tell, I am reading my own notes here while doing this. I take the notes. I do the research. I watch the tape. I make the pick before I look at the odds. After I make the pick, then I look at the odds, and then I'll type up a few more things, and if the odds make sense, I'll place a bet. I assume in my head, or I make some assumptions of what I think the odds will be before I look at them. When I looked at this fight and I broke it down, I watched a little bit of tape. Okay, yeah, there we go. Luana's going to win this fight. She's probably going to be minus 150. She's plus 102. She's the plus money underdog, and I don't get it. I genuinely don't get it. Is she a world beater? No, of course not. But has she proven time and time again that she can win big fights, that she can beat people she's not supposed to beat, that she can hang in the striking, that her takedown defense? Of course. She's not chinny. So I don't know why they think Lucie Pudilova is going to win. I don't know why Lucie Pudilova is the favorite, frankly. She's not going to out-wrestle Luana. And while she's a decent striker, I don't think she's the better striker. And Luana can work in a takedown if she needs to. So Luana Carolina is going to be the pick. She's a plus money underdog, and I have a half a unit bet on her at plus money. I don't know if it's going to stay that way. This may be a situation where all of a sudden Luana does close as the minus 140, minus 150 favorite. But for now, if you're a premium member, you saw the half a unit bet on her, and we got it at plus money. Another fight with surprising odds is Loik Radzhabov taking on Trey Ogden. Again, I started this whole video by saying I think this is an easy betting card, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I think the wrong people are favorites in a lot of these matchups. And I could be dead wrong. I'm not the underdog guy. That's Jacob's thing. But there's a lot of fights that I broke down. Then I looked at the odds and I was like, what? Did they mess up? And this is one of them because we got Loik Radzhabov. I actually like this guy. I'm very high on him in the past. I've picked him many, many times before. He's a nonstop wrestler who, you know, I love wrestlers. He's got impressive throws, powerful hands as well. His striking can be sloppy, but he has no issues just coming forward and bombing away. He does have solid offensive takedowns, but his defense isn't great. He can be taken down multiple times over. He does have very good cardio, and he is certainly tough enough to push a pace for a full 15 minutes. He's coming off the come-from-behind victory over Al-Sawadi, where he was getting outstruck, he was getting out-wrestled, he was clearly going to lose that fight, and then he found the finish in the third round. He's taking on Trey Ogden. Trey Ogden is an athletic grappler. He's got solid takedowns, decent power in his hands. He is absolutely a grappler. But if you run through some tape, you'll see that some of those submission wins weren't jiu-jitsu nerd wins. He's dropping people with punches and then jumping on top and snatching up a submission. His takedowns are really well timed. He does an excellent job of lowering his level and shooting a takedown. He's coming off that decision win over Holobaugh, where he had 3 takedowns and 11 minutes of control. Bit of a snooze fest, but he did what he had to do to get the job done, and I love people like that. I love people that you can trust. Is Trey Ogden the most exciting fighter in this card? Not even close. Loik is wildly exciting. Loik is fun to watch. He'll bomb away. He'll shoot big takedowns. Trey is not fun to watch, but I think he wins this fight. He does not take unnecessary risks. You can trust him to stick to that boring-ass Bilal Muhammad game plan. And if I'm betting on fights, that's what I need, consistency. Obviously, Loik is a pretty durable guy. We just saw that in his last fight. We know he has power. We know he keeps that power late. Loik's a great wrestler as well, but he can't defend takedowns. His takedown defense is subpar, and Trey is more confident than ever lately. Trey is a guy that I'm positive is going to shoot takedowns, so I think Trey wins this fight, and I love him as an underdog. I'm going to keep an eye on these odds to see if I can get it better than plus 127, because that's where he sits right now. I do feel like this is a fight where the odds are going to widen. The fight we just broke down, Luana Carolina, I said that wrong. I'm pretty sure she's going to close as a favorite. I don't think Trey Ogden's going to flip to a favorite. I think Trey Ogden's going to become a bigger and bigger underdog. So we're going to watch that line, and I'm going to use the line movement tracker. If you're a premium member, just go to tools in the menu, click on line movement. You'll see what the opening odds were. You'll see where the odds are today, and you can look at that movement and see if it's heading in the direction you want it to. If Trey Ogden's a plus 125 underdog tomorrow, well, that's going the wrong direction. Let me hit it now. If all of a sudden he's plus 130, plus 140, all right, let's sit and wait and see what goes on. So you can unlock that tool right now. If you don't already have access, just go to WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 for everything. And if you are a premium member, keep an eye on the line movement tracker. I think Trey Ogden wins this fight. I'm going to be a little greedy and see if I can get better odds than the plus 127. Then we have Miranda Maverick in a brand new matchup against Dione Barbosa. Miranda Maverick was supposed to fight Tracy Cortez. Then they snatched Tracy, put her in the main event for UFC Denver. So now Miranda has a brand new opponent. And I love Miranda. We're pretty high on Miranda here. The only time we really picked against her was when she fought Jasmine Jasudavicius, and that's because Jasmine is a nasty wrestler. And I knew that if Miranda couldn't dictate the wrestling, she was going to struggle. This is a different matchup than what she was going to get with Tracy Cortez. This is a different matchup than what she had when she fought Jasmine Jasudavicius. Miranda Maverick is fighting a very good jiu-jitsu grappler. Miranda's a pressure fighter. She's got solid takedowns, good activity. She is very strong. She's physically imposing, and she uses that strength well. She averages a little more than 2 takedowns per fight, but when she cannot get the takedowns, she struggles. She does have a positive striking differential of about 4-3, but her goal is typically work forward and get the takedown. She's coming off the decision win over a very flat Andrea Lee. She's taking on Dione Barbosa. Dione Barbosa is a solid grappler who will throw tight strikes and then look to get it to the ground. She's a judoka. So she's not shooting takedowns. Miranda Maverick's going to be looking to shoot takedowns. Dione Barbosa is going to be looking to trip and throw. She wants to get to that clinch because that's where she's going to work her hips and that's how she's going to get her takedowns. Her striking is not great though, but she is fast enough to set up the clinch. She's fast enough to throw real fast and then pull you tight. She's coming off that win over Anesta Carrot Cake, where many people thought that she lost. You're going to see a win. You're going to do your Tapology thing. You're going to see a green dot and you're going to be like, oh, Dione won. No, she didn't. She did not win that fight. Miranda Maverick, as I mentioned, was training for Tracy Cortez. And as we know, Tracy Cortez is a very good wrestler. But unlike Tracy Cortez, Dione has pretty bad takedown defense. So I think Miranda Maverick is going to come forward, get the takedowns, pressure, not be in any trouble at all on top, and win this fight. Dione's good at jiu-jitsu. Dione's good at tossing people. You can only toss somebody if you tie up and clinch. Miranda's not going to tie up and clinch. She's going to shoot a takedown. You can only submit somebody if you're throwing up beautiful triangles, arm bars, or creating scrambles. She's not going to be able to do any of those things because of Miranda's smothering. Miranda Maverick is going to be the pick. She was the one with the full fight camp. She's somebody who you can trust, who is consistent. I think she might be a little, I don't want to say overrated because that's wildly insulting. I don't necessarily know if she's a top 15 fighter yet, but she is certainly somebody who can stick to a game plan, be strong, come forward, shoot the takedowns, and work from there. Miranda Maverick is going to be the pick. I'm going to be betting on her in some capacity. I'm waiting for the prop bets. I don't love the money line right now, so let's wait for the prop bets. Let's see what we get. But I think Miranda has a very different matchup here than she had with Tracy Cortez, but a much more straightforward one. Taking Tracy down was going to be a bit of a problem. Tracy was going to shoot her own takedowns, and Tracy could have beaten Miranda the exact same way Jasmine did. Dione is not going to do that. Miranda Maverick is the pick. Then we got Brian Kelleher. 2-3 in his last 5 on a 3-fight skid, basically fighting his last fight in the UFC, taking on Cody Gibson. It's a weird matchup, meaning it doesn't affect anything in the rankings. It doesn't move anybody up or down a division, but it should be very entertaining. Both of these guys can fight a good fight. Brian Kelleher has been around forever. He's definitely a few years past his prime. He's 2 years removed from his last win, but he's a well-rounded guy. He's got some clean boxing, decent power, good grappling, great pace. He's good pretty much everywhere. He's not great anywhere, and at this point in his career, he's becoming the fun guy. He has a lot of fun in there. He looks to entertain the crowd, and at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, right? If all these fights were boring as shit, we wouldn't watch them. You can look at his record, you can say, yeah, he's a bit of a journeyman. But the reality is he's a good fighter, and his losses are really just to the better guys in the division or just extremely dominant wrestlers. He is on a 3-fight skid, but there were quality losses. There's a former champion and 2 top-ranked bantamweights in those 3 losses. He's taking on Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson's a few fights removed from his last win as well. He's a solid striker. He uses his length well. He's very long and can be very busy in exchanges. He uses his length to set up strikes. He uses his length to defend takedowns. He is primarily a striker, and if you do take him down, you can have success holding him there. He's coming off the hard-fought loss to Miles Johns, where the wrestling was really the difference. And as soon as I saw this, right, I saw the matchup, you just have a gut reaction. And instantly, I was like, well, Cody wins, easy as hell, maybe the safety parlay. And then I dug deeper. I watched their recent struggles. I did a little tape. And I was like, yeah, no, that safety parlay isn't happening. Brian is probably going to lose here, right? This is probably his last fight in the UFC. He'll go out there. He'll put on a show. He'll be fun as he always is. But Cody has struggled to find his footing in the UFC. Cody's definitely the more focused guy. Cody's definitely trying to make something happen in his UFC career where I get the vibes from Brian, like, hey, I'm just here for a good time. Let's just have some fun, make a couple of dollars and see what happens. So I am going to pick Cody, right? Ultimately, I think the length will matter. He's super long. He's got plenty of cardio, good pressure. He's a tough guy. I can't bet on this fight, though. I cannot bet on it. Brian Kelleher, again, if you look at his losses, Cody Gibson, I'm trying to not say this nasty, Cody Gibson would be the worst fighter Brian has lost to in the last couple of years. And that's not an insult to Cody. That's just a compliment to the people that are beating Brian Kelleher. Oh, you lost to Cody Garbrandt? I get it. Cody Garbrandt isn't the world champion anymore, but he was. He's a very good fighter. Cody Gibson's going to be the pick. Not insanely confident. Certainly not at these the favorite money we have going here, but maybe there's an inside the distance decision, no action bet on Cody because he's certainly the more durable of the two. And this way, if he does somehow lose a decision, we'll get a refund. If you're a premium member, make sure you link your Discord. So if I do place that bet, you'll be notified instantly. Then we have an interesting matchup. This is the Asian invasion. We have a whole bunch of South Koreans and other fighters on this card. A lot of fighters that are entertaining, a lot of fighters that have been making a name for themselves in the last couple of years. I don't know why they were all put on one card, but they were. And Jeong Lee is the first of several on this card that we can look forward to. He's taking on Hyder Amil. This is an interesting matchup that I have gone a little bit back and forth on. Because Hyder Amil is an aggressive striker. He's going to walk through fire to find the pocket. He's got a solid chin, solid power. He sets a nice pace early. He isn't a very good wrestler, but he will work fights to the ground when he gets the opportunity. On the ground, he'll throw heavy bombs, but he can give up positions. He can end up in trouble. He's coming off that great win over Fernie Garcia where he dominated pretty much every single aspect of MMA before finding the finish in the second round. He's taking on Jeong Lee. Jeong Lee is a very well-rounded fighter. He's explosive, powerful, confident, and technical. He has a loose striking style that he manages with range, as well as solid takedowns and grappling. He's very long for this division, and he uses that length well by walking people down. He can be hittable, though, because he keeps his hands so low, but he's got a solid enough chin and grappling as a backup plan. He's coming off that decision win over Blake Builder, where he had the takedowns and controlled the striking. Part of me does want to pick Hyder here because he is very talented. And anytime you get these undefeated guys, we just don't know, right? Is he undefeated because he's been beating bums? Or is he about to be a big deal? We just don't know. Is this the next Peyton Talbot? Or are we looking at, a 9-0 guy that's about to be 9-4 and out of the UFC? It's always hard when we haven't seen a loss. I love watching fighters lose to see how did they lose? Did they break? Did they quit? What happened when he was in trouble? We haven't seen that from Hyder yet. He hasn't been in trouble yet. But this is certainly a very good fight to find out how good either one of these guys are. But I am going to pick Lee here. I have to go Lee. His explosiveness is impressive. I do think he's the more complete fighter in this matchup. He's got the better wrestling, the cleaner striking. He's likely faster. Hyder is an absolute dog. He can certainly turn this into a brawl and then can win that fight. But I think Lee can keep this fight technical, use that length, wrestle if he ends up in some trouble. So the pick is going to be Lee. But I'm going to wait for the round lines to place a bet. Hopefully they accidentally give us a 1.5 and I'll slam the over. If it's a 2.5, I'll take a look at it. I'll probably hit the over there too. I do think this goes the distance. I think we got a couple of guys that are going to go back and forth. Some success on this side, some success on that side. Ultimately though, with Lee winning this fight. And before we get to the main card, let me give you $50. Come on, take it. It's $50. The only thing you need to do is go to wewantpicks.com/bets. On there, you will see a bunch of affiliate links. We have affiliate deals with a couple different sports books. You click the link, you make an account, you make a deposit, and then they're going to pay me. And then I'm going to take some of that money and I'm going to give it right back to you. It's just that simple. It's affiliate marketing. wewantpicks.com/bets. Use the link, sign up, make a deposit, and we'll send you $50 as a thank you. And then after that, you could send us some mail. If you don't know, we do vlogs for every single pay-per-view. The last one, we went to UFC 303. It was awesome. If you haven't watched that vlog, go watch it. Some of the best content we've ever made. The other vlogs are a little more normal. Cook some good food, have some friends over, do a mail day. We'll read your letters, open the packages, eat the food that you send, as long as it's not like cookies on a plate in some saran wrap. I'm not eating that shit. Fully sealed, we got a bunch of sauces and seasonings. I ate the hell out of that. Somebody sent hot sauce, which destroyed my insides for a good 12 hours. But here is the address if you do want to send something. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in the greatest town in this country, Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's go ahead and break down this main card. Opening up the main card for UFC Vegas 94. We have a very fun matchup. We got Cody Durden taking on Bruno Silva. Couple of guys that will absolutely turn it on, go at it, and we're going to find out what happens. This is a really fun fight, and I'm looking forward to it kicking off the main card. We got Cody Durden, a pressure wrestler. He averages almost 5 takedowns per fight. He likes to come forward, throw looping power shots, and then look for those takedowns. He will chain wrestle. He will continue just diving at legs until he gets it to the ground. While he wrestling can be nonstop pressure, he's loose on top. He loses positions. That's why he's averaging 5 takedowns per fight. Remember 3 fights ago, I broke down Trey Ogden? And what I say happened in Trey Ogden's last fight, he had 3 takedowns in 11 minutes of control. 1 takedown per round. That's how you know somebody has great control. 5 takedowns means people are getting up on you. And that is where Cody struggles a little bit, but you can trust him to shoot a bunch of takedowns and come forward. He is coming off that loss to Dagir Ulanbekov, where he was out-wrestled, he was dropped, and he was submitted. He's taking on Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva is a well-rounded guy with solid power, strong wrestling, and nasty submissions. He's literally good everywhere. He started his UFC career with a bit of a skid, but then he managed to string together 2 knockout wins before a 2-year layoff. He came back from that layoff and just submitted Tyson Nam. We're a few years removed from it, but if you look at Bruno Silva's career, you look at his record, he lost to Dagir Ulanbekov, and he's probably going to lose to Cody Durden the same way he lost to Dagir. If you can trust Cody to do anything, it's come forward and aggressively wrestle. I think the wrestling pace is going to be too much. I think Cody squeezes out a close decision here. The only thing preventing me from betting on Cody is his chin. We saw Dagir drop him in that last loss. The loss before that was to Mohammed Makayev, who dropped him as what? Mohammed Makayev dropped him. That's the only thing that worries me because Bruno Silva has nuts power, and he can certainly lose some wrestling exchanges and then land that big power. But Cody Durden's going to be the pick. I do think it's a wrestle fest, and I'll take it. Then we have Do-Ho Choi taking on Bill Algeo. This is an interesting matchup. You're going to see, wow, Do-Ho Choi, 14-4. He's won 3-1 in his last 5. He hasn't won a fight in like 8 years. So it's quite the situation here. But this could be a really fun fight because Do-Ho Choi is an exciting fighter. He has 5 Fight of the Night bonuses and only 7 UFC fights. Style-wise, he's a powerful striker. He's got okay takedown defense. He does a great job throwing straight punches and then staying active without getting too wild. He's very talented, but he does have a spotty record. And I blame the losses. I blame the spotty record on how quickly he was given ranked fighters. He showed up. They're like, this dude's going to be a big deal. Gave him a bunch of really tough fights, lost those fights, and then things kind of came off the rails for him. He is coming off that draw with Kyle Nelson that should have been a win, but there was a point deduction in the 3rd round that tied it up. He should have won 29-28, ended up being 28-28. He's taking on Bill Algeo. Moment of silence for our bets on Bill Algeo in his last fight. What a fucking disappointment that was. Also lost to Kyle Nelson. But let's remove that from our brains. Let's just break him down. Try not to hate him for what he did to us. And talk about his skill set. He is a fast-paced striker. He's got that karate-style stance. He's got the karate hand placement. And because of that, he does have some decent defense. Surprisingly, how output for that. Usually the karate guys don't have a ton of output, but he does at more than 6 significant strikes landed per minute. He likes a dirty stand-up war if he can keep it there. He does have okay takedowns, but a low 46% accuracy and a 56% takedown defense. He does have a BJJ black belt, great cardio, a fast pace, and he's typically durable. He's coming off that stoppage loss from Kyle Nelson that a lot of people, me included, think it was a little bit early. I mean, he was fully standing. He wasn't falling over. He was certainly rocked, but he was standing in the middle of the cage. The fence wasn't holding him up. His feet were. Stoppage was a little early, but I don't know what would have changed if he made it out of that round with 1 minute left. This is a tough fight to pick. I think Choi is certainly better than his record, and Bill might not be as good as his record, which means we have 2 guys that are probably evenly matched, but also unreliable. Algeo certainly has the experience edge. He's been far more active. Do-Ho Choi has not won an MMA fight in 8 years. 8 years. So here's, picture me minus 40 pounds. That was 8 years ago. My daughter's 7. And then I got fat. I can't bet on Do-Ho Choi here. He's talented. He's fun. He's still young. He's only 33. He's the younger fighter in this matchup. But I can't go with him. I got to go with the far more active Bill Algeo. He's burned us before, Keep your money. You can't trust him. Stay far, far away from this fight. But Bill Algeo is going to be the pick. Then we got Kurt Holobaugh taking on that Kanyan Crisscross. And just a correction, last time I broke down Kurt Holobaugh, I thought that was like a little bald patch in the front. I'm like, what an odd way to look like. It's not a receding hairline. It's not in the back. What is that? And then he corrected. He said, listen, pal, it's a fucking birthmark. I'm like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. So we got Kurt Holobaugh. He did win the last season of The Ultimate Fighter. Style-wise, Kurt's a come-forward striker. He's got pressure. He's got power. He marches forward, throws combinations, then he'll duck out, reset, and do it again. He has some wrestling as well, but he could use a little more takedown defense. His BJJ, however, is very good, and it looked incredible in that fight against Austin Hubbard where he won The Ultimate Fighter. He's coming off a decision loss to Trey Ogden where he couldn't defend the takedowns and could not get up after being taken down. He's taking on Kanyan Kruszewski. I actually might have said that correctly. Kanan Kruszewski. Kanyan Kruszewski. He's a stalking striker who will walk you down, take his time, and then explode when he sees the openings. All right, we're done with that. He does a nice job of controlling center, throwing accurate strikes. He can seem low volume if you're watching and you're just watching the fights. Like, dude, throw. What are you doing? But he does let his hands go when he's inside the pocket. He'll close the distance and then explode in there. His striking defense is not great. Neither is his takedown defense, but he's got very solid BJJ. He's coming off the insanely short notice loss to Elves Brenner in his UFC debut. If Kurt was a more dominant wrestler, I'd be confident in him here, right? I'd be like, yeah, he can just get the takedowns. Kanyan can't defend takedowns. We're Gucci, baby. He has more high-level experience. He's definitely the more well-rounded fighter. The problem, though, is he doesn't wrestle as much as you want him to. Certainly not as much as he should, and I can't necessarily expect him to wrestle here. I do think Kanyan is the better striker, the more dangerous fighter in general, but I'm thinking Kurt's durability and composure will suit him well. I'm going to pick Kurt here, but with basically no confidence at all and certainly no money. Kurt's going to be the pick, but listen, you don't have to bet on every fight. Guys, we have some spots. I've already got some bets going. We don't even have round lines or props yet. You don't need to bet on every fight. I'm certainly not going to bet on this one, unless we get some ridiculous prop bet, but I'm not betting on this fight. Then we have the sneaky good Steve Garcia taking on Seung-Woo Choi. Steve Garcia is a solid grappler. He's got good takedowns, decent boxing. He likes to come forward with big strikes to set up those takedowns. His striking is very solid. He's got nice movement, big power, decent speed. He's not afraid to mix it up, but he can get himself into trouble by being too aggressive. He's very tough. He's always working forward, and he is riding a nice 3-fight win streak, most recently TKO win over Milk Costa with a little bit of ground and pound. He's taking on Seung-Woo Choi. Seung-Woo Choi is a clean striker who fights tall, throws solid, and has some power. He does a really good job utilizing leg kicks, and at times he uses them like a jab, just pop, 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 just throwing those leg kicks out there. He's a technical striker who sets up his takedowns well and uses them to sort of seal up rounds. You're not going to see him shooting takedowns early, but he will wait at the 4-minute mark. Let me get a takedown, see if I can steal this round. He's coming off the bounce-back win over Jarno Aarons, where he was fast, accurate, and he did rock him a few times early. I open this by saying Steve Garcia is sneaky good. He is sneaky good. He's a guy that's just sort of flying under the radar, and he's a guy that's insanely dangerous. He has 5 wins in the UFC with 5 knockouts, but I don't even consider him like that guy, right? You think Alex Pereira, he's going to knock somebody out. Nobody thinks Steve Garcia is going to go finish somebody, but the reality is that's what he's doing. He has 5 wins in the UFC, and every single one of them is a TKO or a TKO. So now all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, how good is Steve Garcia? And I think he wins here. I think the striking is there. I think the wrestling is there. He's proven to be a very dangerous guy. Seung-Woo Choi has been finished in the past. I think his winning streak continues, and I think he's just going to keep flying under the radar. Seems like a very good deal to me at -140, and I do have a bet on him here. I do feel like that -140 on Steve Garcia is not going to last very long. I think people are doing what I just talked about. People are like, yeah, Steve Garcia, he's pretty good, right? And just like forgetting or ignoring or not knowing what he's actually just quietly been doing. Just showing up, finishing people, and then moving on to the next one. Steve Garcia is the pick. I got a nice little bet on him at -140. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. Yet another wild, odd situation, at least in my mind. We got Brad Tavares taking on Jun-Young Park in the co-main event of UFC Vegas 94. Brad Tavares, tried and true at this point. He's been around forever. 185 pounds. He's a middleweight that has been here for a very long time. He is 15-9 in the UFC. He has 24 fights in the UFC. And he's fought pretty much every single former or current world champion or contender. He's a solid striker with very good takedown defense at 81%. He does have that Hawaiian fighting spirit. He's got no quit in him whatsoever. He's not very dangerous, but he is well-rounded and typically durable. Even though he is 36 in human years, he's been through it, man. He's been through some battles, and his fight years, his inside the cage years, probably closer to 45. He is starting to decline, but he can likely still hang. He is coming off that KO loss to Gregory Rodriguez. And I said, like, the inhuman years, it's like dogs, right? What is it? 1 human year is 7 years for a dog. It's like that with cage time. And actually, I'm saying this like kind of sarcastically, but they did a study. I've been watching this forever. They did a study like when Randy Couture was champion. We're talking 15 years ago or some shit. And Randy Couture was old as hell and still doing really well. So ESPN did this whole thing about what makes certain fighters have longer careers than others and how come certain fighters at 30 look completely washed and Randy Couture at 42 is beating James Toney. And the end of the study, basically the result was it's not your actual age, it's when you started and how long you've been fighting. Randy Couture started much later in life. So he had a late start and his durability lasted longer into his 40s. I think it was 13 years. I think they said 13 years from your pro debut to like, that's your peak at the 13th year, and then it's a steep decline. This rant is all to say, Brad Tavares is 36, but he has been fighting for a very, very, very long time and is declining rapidly. He's taking on Jun-Young Park. Jun-Young Park is a well-rounded guy in his own right. He's got a nice jab, good cage control, solid setups and takedowns. He's pretty good everywhere, but dangerous nowhere. He doesn't seem to have that KO power, and while he's got plenty of submissions, he's typically grinding his way to a decision. He's got a solid striking differential of around 5-4. He averages almost 2 takedowns per fight, and he's got enough cardio to maintain a pace for 3 full rounds. He is coming off that ridiculously sloppy fight with Andre Muniz, where he gave up an insane 11 takedowns. Bruno Silva and Gregory Rodriguez have both knocked out Brad Tavares in the last year. Both of those gentlemen in the last 12 months have put Brad Tavares out, separated him from consciousness. His chin is not what it used to be. And as I mentioned, he's slowing down. He's well past that 13-year peak that ESPN did that study on so many years ago. But Jun-Young Park couldn't knock out my daughter. And if he did, I would fuck him up. But he couldn't. And that's the point here. Let alone knock out Brad Tavares, old or young. So then this fight comes down to non-power striking and takedowns. I am very surprised that Jun-Young Park is a 2-1 favorite. I don't see him getting takedowns. I don't see him controlling the striking pace. And I'm happy to bet on Brad Tavares here. If Jun had one-punch knockout power, this would be a different breakdown. But he doesn't. So he's not going to win. Brad Tavares is the pick. I have a bet on Brad Tavares. And we can get this guy at plus 170, plus 180. I'll do that all day long. I'm genuinely surprised to see Jun-Young Park as the favorite here. Then we have the main event of the evening. Listen, everybody's been complaining. Oh, we went from Alex Pereira to 2 women's MMA main events in a row. I get it. But let me break down those 2 things real quick. The Rose Namajunas fight was supposed to be Macy Barber. And if Macy Barber won, she was going to get a title shot. So that was an impactful fight that mattered for the division. This fight does as well. Amanda Lemos fought for a title. She's number 3 in the world. Virna Jandiroba's on a nice little hot streak. She's number 5 in the world and can earn a title here. So while I know it's fun to rag on women's MMA and all that crap, this fight matters. I mean, it has an impact on the ranking. It's not like some random, here's just 2 people, who cares? Win or lose, nothing changes. No, stuff changes with a win or a loss on either side. What I will also say is this wasn't supposed to be the main event. The UFC didn't. This was probably the co-main, and then the UFC just made it the main event. If you went to the UFC's website and you do events, future events, they list all the upcoming events that they have officially scheduled. This main event was listed as TBD forever. Just like the Tatsuro Pyra Alex Perez fight. That was listed as TBD because that's not what they wanted for the main event. Then they're like, all right, well, this is what we have. So it's the main event. The UFC cares so little about this fight. If you go to the very first graphic in this video, it's just the UFC logo behind them. They haven't even taken the time yet. We're 1 week away from the fight, and they haven't even taken the time yet to put a graphic behind them on the website. But they don't care about it. I do. I think this is an interesting matchup, and I do think it matters for the division. So let's go ahead and break it down. We have Amanda Lemos. Former title challenger Amanda Lemos. She is a Muay Thai striker. She has fast hands, a ton of power. For the most part, she does a pretty good job keeping fights at that Muay Thai range and avoiding takedowns. She's got plenty of power, solid BJJ, but she can lose scrambles and transitions. She's coming off that win over Mackenzie Dern where she dominated the striking, defended a couple of sloppy takedowns, and was not afraid to shoot 2 takedowns of her own. She has taken on a different animal, though. Virna Jandiroba, an absolute grinder who has solid ground and pound. Her striking is just okay, but she hits hard enough and she'll throw some volume. She doesn't have a lot of head movement, so you can touch her up if she's standing there. And the stats tell that story. You can see she's got a negative striking differential. And there's no secrets to her game plan, though. Throw giant, heavy punches, look for the takedown. She is 6-3 in the UFC, but her losses are very good. Decent outings against Carla Esparza, who's a very good wrestler, former world champion, Mackenzie Dern, who is a jiu-jitsu nerd, but it is what it is, and Amanda Ribas, who's well-rounded enough. She's coming off the grapple-heavy win over Lupe Godinez, where the wrestling pressure was absolutely incredible. And without question, Amanda Lemos is the better fighter here. She's the more well-rounded fighter. She's the better mixed martial artist. But does it even matter? Does Amanda's striking matter? Does the fact that she's 10 times better striker here matter? Because if she can't keep the fight on her feet, who cares how good her striking is? Who cares how hard she hits? Who cares about any of that if she can't defend the takedowns? And I don't know if she's going to be able to defend the takedowns. I'm feeling like Virna is just going to grind, get the takedowns. Same way she's done in her last couple of fights. I've got to pick Virna here. This is definitely a steep test. It'll be her first 5-round fight, her first main event. She is affordable at even money. So if you're very confident in Virna and you think she takes Amanda down the same way that Wei Li was just tossing her around all over the place, then bet on her because that line hasn't moved and it's basically even money right now. She's a slight favorite, but very, very close to even. Virna Jandiroba is going to be the pick. I'm going to wait for some of the prop bets. Let's see what the takedown line is because I think she cruises past that. Either way, Virna Jandiroba is the pick for the UFC Vegas 94 main event. Guys, that's the breakdown. But before you leave, go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use the link, sign up, make a deposit. I'll send you $50 as a thank you. It's affiliate marketing. And instead of being greedy about it and keeping all of it, I slice off a chunk and I give it back to you to say thank you because we're nothing without the community. If you don't become a premium member, we're nothing. If you don't use the links, we're nothing. So thank every single one of you for doing all of those things. Cruising past 26,000 subscribers in just a few years is astonishing. So thank you all very, very much. And before I leave you, if you could be a premium member, that would be outstanding. What we are doing for real is building the greatest premium offering in this space. There is nobody in MMA that could sell anything that even resembles what we're offering for $10 a month. You're going to get a couple of guys with some Patreons. Those are stupid. A couple of people took the time to make a website. None of them have what we have. If you go to WeWantPicks.com, you click Become a Member, it's $10 a month. You're going to get the bets. If all you want is some bets, you're going to get the bets. You're going to get tools if you want to do your own research. If you're here for DraftKings Fantasy, you'll get that. If you want Prize Picks, you got it. Underdog, you got it. FanDuel, you got it. One of the latest tools is the Prop Hunter, curated data that you can use to find the best prop bets every single week. You're going to get the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, the current odds, the win probability, and the line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to get the detailed data, metrics, and analytics, 38 columns of information that you can use for your own research. You're going to get the DraftKings Optimizer. This builds DraftKings lineups for you with just a couple clicks of the button, and it is preloaded with the ownership projections. And you're going to get the safety parlay. I'm recording this before UFC Denver. I don't know if it hit last night, but let's say it did. Well, then we're on a 6-event win streak, and it's absolutely astonishing. Let's say it missed. Well, we're 5-1 in the last 6, which is also absolutely astonishing. Every single thing I mentioned, a bunch of things I didn't mention, only $10 a month. It's the best way to support us, and it's also the best offering in this space. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. Thank you all very, very much.